And welcome back, everybody, to I'll Hang Up and Listen, brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room. With over 300 beers to choose from, if you want to get a beer, make sure you make it a Fatty Beer and let them know 2 goalies, 1 mic sent you. Buffalo Go Apparel, shop small business, buy local. Buffalo Go has some of the best options when it comes to, especially when it comes to the Bills. All of your shirts, your hats, your hoodies, they have everything over there. You can find them at Buffalo Go Co. on Instagram and Twitter. You can find Fatty Beer at Fatty Beer on Instagram and Twitter, fattybeer.com. The Buffalo Sabres, to do some wordplay on the theme of the night, were suplexed through a table off the top rope by the San Jose Sharks tonight on Bills night with Coach McDermott in the house amongst Slick Rick and others. Completely embarrassed in their own barn tonight by a team that before tonight only had 11 wins in regulation, which that's about as embarrassing as it gets, I think, Hurls.
Yeah, that's not good. 11 wins and 11 regulation wins, I guess, in what is that? 62 games leading up to this.
Pretty awful.
Got their 12th tonight in convincing fashion. The irony of it being Bills night, I don't think is lost on anybody. Really, really quick question. I think we could probably answer it. Was Terry Pegula in the building?
I don't think he was he?
He wasn't shown.
He shown right on Bills night.
Yeah, it wasn't shown. You'd figure that the owner of the Bills, who
can someone in the chat answer that for us? Did they show Terry at all?
Just so happens to be the owner of the Sabres as well, would potentially be in the building for something like this. Yeah, games like this, I mean, obviously we talk about rock bottom all the time, but when it happens against the team that's actually rock bottom in the league, a team that I was listening to the broadcast earlier, and Rob Ray and Dan Dunleavy were describing it like they were watching a junior team, given how young the San Jose Sharks are. Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini were the best players in college hockey less than a year ago. They are completely tearing down their entire franchise after years of getting to the end of the Western Conference playoffs and not getting over the hump. I think the last time they were close was, I think, 2017 when they lost in the Cup Finals to the Penguins. And even that was a monumental accomplishment for the San Jose Sharks franchise to actually get over the hump in the Western Conference after losing for so many years, whether it be the Stars or the Kings or anybody else. For them to just absolutely tear it all down. And another piece of irony, former Sabre Mike Greer at the helm, GM of the San Jose Sharks, actually doing a pretty nice job collecting a lot of young talent. Obviously, Macklin Celebrini was a surefire generational #1 pick last year, and he's proven every single bit of that, how good he is. And you can just see it on the ice. He has some of the best numbers, at least underlying numbers, of any young forward in the league. So
I think any under 20-year-old player.
Really, really, really good player. And they've got a lot of really good young pieces. But as far as the Sabres are concerned, that's about as bad as it gets. And against, I said it, the bottom of the Pacific is historically a little bit nicer than the bottom of the Atlantic. Marine biologists have always said that. So I think that was proven.
I love it.
Proven on the ice in Buffalo, New York.
You saw their young talent, your young stars really on full display tonight. Celebrini with a goal, Will Smith with a goal, Eklund with a goal. Just they brought it. They showed up tonight. Once again, Buffalo did not show up. And just same old story. A Sabres team not willing to play 60 minutes. And I mean, I'm not saying every player out there kind of is making business decisions and not, putting their bodies on the line to get in front of shots and, play the body, play physical. But it's starting to seem like that, man. It really is. With the trade deadline really coming close, guys probably aren't sure if they're going to be a Buffalo Sabre come Friday anymore. I'm on the side of thinking that I know it was rumored today that a Zucker extension might be coming, but I genuinely think Zucker's on his way out the door. I mean, judging from what you saw tonight, even know Zucker didn't play, but Jason Zucker does not change the outcome of that game tonight. I'm sorry, he doesn't.
But I do think the silver lining of potentially signing him, not long term, but 3-year bridge deal, is he technically is the type of guy that this organization needs.
No, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, he's played well enough and he's proven his worth. And it's not the same retread of drafting and developing and guys who have been part of this culture for years and don't know how to win. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but they haven't proven that they've been able to. So maybe it's the wrong collection of guys and the wrong collection of prospects, combined with just the general organizational ineptitude and failure for a long time now. But yeah, I mean, I would love to get something back for him, but at the same time, we've talked about many times that what's a late first or a second round pick going to do us if all of the late first and second round picks that we've used in the past 7 or 8 years haven't necessarily done anything of worth? Obviously, some really good players in there. Dahlin was a generational, surefire number 1 overall pick. You have some relatively good draft picks mixed in there, especially in the later half of the first round with a guy like Yuri Kulik and other guys as well. But I'm not interested in guys who aren't going to be able to help the team 2 to 3 years from now. I'm interested in a guy that if you slot him in to the middle 6 next year, hopefully with another addition to the top 6, Jason Zucker is going to go out there and at least show some heart. And he's shown that he can still produce, especially on the power play. He's a hard-nosed guy in front of the net. He's going to get you a greasy goal that this team so rarely scores. And he's going to cause disruption, and he's a leader. And you can show that guys respond to him, at least. So I personally think he'd be a much better assistant captain than Dylan Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't disagree with you. I'm just kind of the side of the fence where I want to bring him back, but maybe you just have that conversation with him. Like, we want you here. This is the contract that'll be on the table for you come the offseason. If you still want to be here, go chase a cup with a contender, and this contract is waiting for you. You know?
Well, I mean, you said it a bunch. Like, the extension would have to come before the deadline, right? Like, wouldn't we prefer that?
You can't. Well, that's what I'm saying. You still trade him, but you tell him this offer is here for you on day 1 of free agency.
Or you just sign it right now. You sign the extension right now.
But you want to get I'm just on the side of I want to get a return to hopefully turn pieces into players. Like that's where I'm at. I'm trying to.
If it's not a first round pick, I'd rather a 3-year
How is it not
deal.
A first round pick?
What's that?
How would it not be a first round pick?
Well, I mean, it might be.
It has to be. It has to be that plus with the. You kind of see what the market's being set at with certain players right now, and what the deals that have been made. You have to think a Zucker with playoff experience, his ability on the power play in front of the net.
Yeah, and again, and maybe that may be true, but if anything, it's going to go to a good team in a playoff contending position. That's a late first round pick.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think I'd rather have 3 more years.
Plus, personally,
I think I'd have 3 more years of Jason Zucker at $4.5 to $5 million a season, given what he's shown us already, than a late first round pick. Personally, that's just me.
I'm not saying that you still can't have that. I mean, why can't you do both?
Well,
why can't you trade him and still sign him? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, if he's a rental somewhere else, potentially, yeah. But you run the risk of that not happening. And once you trade a guy, like I don't know how often especially an organization like Buffalo, you trade a guy at the deadline, and maybe you're doing him a favor, but I don't see it happening relatively often that a guy would come back after going somewhere else and being a part of a really good culture. Yeah. And let's say he tastes some playoff success, like he'd probably want to replicate that this late in his career. So yeah, I don't know. I lean towards the side of the extension, hopefully before the deadline, and we'll see. And guys like Greenway and Cousins, like, I don't know. Obviously, Greenway's a little bit younger. He's the type of player they don't necessarily really have. Tough in front of the net, bigger body, physical, but he's not really producing that much. And at least Zucker has some of those same qualities, while not necessarily being the same build, but he has produced this season and throughout most of his career in good situations, especially on the top power play unit. So yeah. I would lean Zucker over Greenway. And I do think maybe not a first round pick for Greenway, but you package him with something else, you potentially could.
I think one of those
even like a legitimate player too.
Just my opinion. I think that, well, I mean, people speculate that Zucker isn't in the lineup due to an injury. This is what his fourth or fifth straight game missing. But I don't know. I just want to get off the subject because I can't bring myself to wanting Jason Zucker on this team past the deadline. I want him on this team for the next 3 years, but I would take the risk of doing both because I think you need those assets that you could get in return for Zucker. This team especially, they just do. They do. Though having those assets, depending on where you fall in the draft, where your pick falls, is it going to be the top 3, the top 5? Falls out of the top 5, maybe you can dangle that to a team in a package for a Dylan Cousins or for a Bowen Byram and get a legitimate top 6 player, and then you still have a first round pick at the end of the draft to pick a guy for. Wherever that pick may end up. That's just kind of where I'm leaning personally. I mean, I might be in the minority, I don't know, but that being said, UPL up until that third period, I thought he was having a fantastic game, and then I don't know what happened on that shot from the corner. But
it looked like it did get through a little bit of traffic. I think it obviously caught him off guard. And I think as goalies, we know that type of play in once in a blue moon can happen. Obviously, it's a really bad goal. I'm not excusing it whatsoever. And anytime you're a goalie and you think you have it and you look back, it's in the net is one of the worst feelings in the world. So, yeah, and I think it's representative of the way he's been playing recently. We all know that if UPL is on his game and he's confident and he's in a little bit of a rhythm, that goal would never go in. But he hasn't been that way in a couple months now. And while I don't place it completely on him, I think we as goalies again know that no matter how your team is playing in front of you, you expect of yourself to make the saves, especially the big save. I mean, especially the easy saves, but you want to make most of the big saves as well. And as an NHL goalie, as you tweeted out, like $4.75 million a year, based upon his performance for most of last year and even the season before that for stretches, his development was indicative of a goalie, even past goalies and past contracts that would support that type of contract. It's not this outlandish thing that we paid him that money. I think it was a relatively good deal given what he had shown up until that point in his career. But he has underperformed. The defense has largely underperformed. I want to quickly talk about changing up the defensive pairs after the first period tonight. I'm not sure why Lindy did that. I mean, I get it. He's been doing it all year with the forward lines, and that's at least led to some success. I think the defense has been at least a tiny bit better as of late. And I say that over the past month, not necessarily the past week. You had a surefire thing in Dahlin and Byram, and you decide to put Byram with power. And I get like that, maybe that like could indicate to you like which one could do a little bit better in their own zone. But I think we've seen many times Byram away from Dahlin isn't great in his own zone, and power basically with anyone. He hasn't had many good pairings, has not been good in his own zone. And the two of them together were -3 in the final 2 periods. It was a unmitigated disaster in terms of defensive coverage in front of the net. Wasn't helped by Dylan Cousins at all. The puck going off the skate. But
don't worry, we're going to get to some of the comments here. I'm trying to pull them all up as they come.
That was bad.
There's a lot of comments tonight from our boy Ty B. Lines seem to be shuffled from the whole night from my view. Going back to UPL's numbers before tonight, he had a 3.01 goals against average and an .894 save percentage. Compared to previous season, he let 132 goals and had 132 goals against last year. Right now, not even at the trade deadline yet. I'm not sure. With 43 games played, he's at 43 games played right now compared to his 54 last year. He has 123 goals against this year in 43 games compared to 132 against last year in 54. So 10 more goals get by him. He's already hit his, the number of goals against for last year. Not good. Not good.
It has not been good enough, and he'll say that himself. We don't hear him talk to the media that often, but I think he knows that it's a win or go home type league. And I mean, of course, the extension happened, and I'm not I'm not going to give up on him because I do think he's a good goalie, and he's proven throughout most of his development that he has been able to perform at a pretty high level, relatively consistently. But yeah, in a year where you needed him to step up in the way that you thought he would, hasn't been good enough. I mean, the defense has not helped at all. I think we've talked about that many times. They didn't do anything to the defense aside from getting Byram towards the end of last season, and at least defensively away from Dahlin. And even with Dahlin, he's a very good offensive defenseman, but it's just another example of them trading an asset away for something that they kind of already had. And tonight, I think, is another unfortunate example of a guy away from one of the best players in the league isn't necessarily the guy that we've thought him to be. And that sucks, because now you probably question, or maybe they've already been questioning, giving him $8-9 million a year if you can only play him at a high level with one guy. So
I think 5-on-5 as a whole, the team was just terrible tonight. It wasn't even just the defense; like team defense as a whole was pretty bad tonight. On a couple of the goals, I felt that forwards needed to be stepping up into the puck carrier. The one where he was bringing it in from the high slot, and there wasn't a single forward near him, and then came down to Byram to step up on him. And then the Dylan Cousins one in front that you pointed out. Just team defense all around was just god awful tonight.
A lot of panic in front of the net, always. And you see them moving their heads around, trying to potentially pick up the guy with the loose puck or get a stick or something, but they're doing it in the wrong direction. It's kind of like the power play. They're trying to force things in areas where it doesn't matter. And especially on that goal that went off Dylan Cousins' foot, he's to credit to him. He's trying to get back. He's covering the back door, but he's not aware of where the puck is, and he's not aware of where he is on the ice. And his head isn't in the right place. His eyes aren't in the right place. Goes off his skate right to the guy in the slot, and it's a wide open net. So
there's a lot of hate here in the chat for Dylan Cousins, and then we'll go back to the owner, Terry Pegula. I really hope Cousins is not on this team in 25-26. I
could see him getting traded in the next 2 days. I really do.
I've been an advocate for Dylan Cousins. I really, really, really have. He just seems broken here, man. He's had 2 years to get back to that form that he was when he got the big contract, and he has not remotely looked like that player. I've been a bit of a Cousins defender myself. I can't justify defending it anymore, Hurls. I can't.
No, I can't either. And whether that's the organization promoting a culture that just breaks players, we've seen that many times, whether it be Ryan O'Reilly, Sam Reinhart, Jack Eichel, any of these guys that have, even Brandon Montour, that have gone on to succeed in better situations. Could be the case with Dylan Cousins. I do think it is at least partially related to what happened to him last season with Garnett Hathaway. You don't necessarily come away from a situation like that physically the same guy. He doesn't seem as fluid and connected as he once did. And his edge to his game, and even the skill. I think a couple times tonight he had a wide open shot in the slot. There was one specifically in the third period where he either missed the net or the goalie got a piece on it, where he was visibly frustrated because it seemed like a situation he had been himself in before, especially during his 30-goal season, in the slot, in the house, in those scoring areas, where for a guy with a relatively good wrist shot and a good snapshot was converting on those chances as a former top 10 overall pick in the NHL draft, first round. Like, I think he himself knows that he's done this before, but for some reason, whether it's the concussion or a lack of confidence or anything else, probably a combination of both, he's not that player anymore.
Could use better coaching too. And I'm not saying that about Lindy.
No,
I just think that
it's a lot of things, right? But like the results, everyone says, like, I watch with my eyes. This is a situation where the people watching with their eyes and the people supporting it with the numbers are completely aligned on Dylan Cousins. Nothing is working. And for a guy that you're paying $7 million a year, that is an unsustainable situation, and potentially one that you may have to sell a little bit low on if you're the team And
you're going to have to package him with something to get a good return.
Yeah, hopefully get something back for it because it's just not working.
Because honestly, you held out for a while here. I know there was some speculation about a deal on the table with Detroit that Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts verified that was real. Who knows what that return might have been or what the offer from Steve Yzerman was. But I think you waiting as long as you did to get this deal done just hurt his value even more. So it sucks. I don't really know what to do. But I think I tend to agree with you. It's hard for me to see Dylan Cousins on this team, if not, beyond the trade deadline come draft day, where trades tend to happen. Teams tend to move up in draft order, or certain players that are on the cusp of being traded do get traded draft week. So it's hard for me to see him still being a Buffalo Sabre in the 25-26 season.
The same conversation you can have with Jack Quinn. It's
not a concussion,
it's not a concussion, but it's 2 significant leg injuries that happened to a guy who previously had a lot of confidence offensively, and now he can't stand up. On that 4-on-2 before the Will Smith goal, he was one of the players on the 4-on-2. I would love to see the video back because I saw it described on Twitter, but apparently he fell, took out the guy in the slot from the Sharks, which eventually led to the turnover and to the 3-on-1 the other way. And it was a direct result of him not being able to stay on his feet, as we've seen for a lot of the year with him. There have been flashes of his offensive game and the confidence that he once had over a larger period of time. But another instance of the 2 guys that this organization were really, really praying would turn it around this year, that they weren't what 2023 and 2024 showed us that they were. Dylan Cousins and Jack Quinn, 2 top 10 picks in the past 5 years, who are not the same version of themselves as they once were. And it is absolutely killing this forward group in more ways than one.
Did Quentin Musty play tonight?
I didn't see. I don't
we're
think
getting a shout out from Quentin Musty.
I think we would know that.
Yeah, they would have mentioned it for sure. I don't think
he was drafted by the Sharks.
He's just on the San Jose Sharks. So, but a lot of criticism here coming in the peanut gallery for ownership, and we'll get to that. If you're Terry Pegula, how are you? And I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. If Kevin Adams is still the GM going into the deadline and making a big decision at the deadline, how do you fire him? You know what I mean? Like, you think if he
hasn't been fired out, he's not going to fire him.
I know, but people seem to think it's happening. It's not happening. If it hasn't happened after a 13-game losing streak, if it hasn't happened after a 6-2 loss to the last team I think they're last in the NHL.
No, the league, yeah.
In the league, yes. Like, if it hasn't, and an embarrassing loss, if it doesn't happen by the deadline, after the deadline, it's not happening. He's the GM next
year. It would be pretty funny, given how invested Terry is into the Bills, if after a loss on Bills night, which would probably be a huge source of pride for him, they had Pete Gwelly on it, the second intermission, talking about the Bills PSLs, trying to sell everybody on the fan experience. Yeah. They've sold 11,000 of a possible 53,000, so that's not working out too well. But it would be very funny if if his pride was so broken by the Sabres losing to the worst team in the league on Bills night, that would be the final straw for him to be like, all right, something's got to change.
Yeah,
you can't insult me and my boys on Bills night. How dare you, stepchild?
Oh my God. I think the most entertaining thing about tonight's game was Sean McDermott driving the Zamboni, honestly, or Sabretooth going through a table. Shout out to the Macho Man
on that one.
Elbow drop, huh?
Pretty good form on that one.
It was.
There's about 20 tables on my body. I commend the effort on that one.
Yeah. So, we're gonna obviously have we're gonna have Johnny Lazarus with us on Thursday evening, in between periods of the game on Thursday night, to talk about the deadline, which is actually is it 4 p.m. on Friday? 3 or 4 p.m. on Friday?
Yeah, I think it's 4 p.m. Eastern.
4 p.m. Friday. So we'll have him on. You'll have us live throughout Friday, myself, because I'm currently a GIMP who can't work. So you'll see me definitely live multiple times throughout the deadline on Friday. If there is a big move to be made, I will be going live to cover it. So don't worry, for those watching, you will have us live. I mean, what should we expect? We
Nothing.
talked about it last night, I know. But, like, again, after this embarrassing loss, I mean, the only guy that's been consistently healthy scratch is Henry Jokiharju. I mean, I don't know if that's for training purposes at this point or if they're just really trying to field the best possible team on the ice, which, I mean, just lost 6-2 to the Sharks. What should we
Henry's been
even
pretty good recently. I would have loved him out there, actually.
Yeah. I mean, he's been good since the Four Nations.
Yeah, even a little bit before that in the games he played. Like,
yeah,
Jokiharju is the least of the Sabres' defensive concerns at the moment.
Agreed. So,
but to answer your question, we should expect nothing. I think that's what I'm expecting. Mm-hmm. I would be pleasantly surprised if we did anything, and I mean anything, given the way that these reports have been flooding in over the past couple of weeks. I do think losing these 4 games in as tragic of a fashion as they have does increase the chances of something happening. But in terms of expectations, both macro and micro for this organization, absolutely nothing.
Yep. And I think, fans, we talked, I know it was a Jeremy White talk about Operation 10 in a row. I just maybe did he not specify?
Joe
Did he say 10 in a row?
Joe Marino. Yeah, he says they meant 10 wins, not 10 losses.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I think we all knew that 10 in a row losses was way more likely than 10 in a row wins.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. Like I said, Mike Greer's done a really good job in San Jose, and he's put together a really nice team of young players, surrounded by a good staff, good development coaches. They have good scouts. I know Jeremy Roenick has talked about it multiple times on the After the Whistle podcast. He is still very much in touch with the San Jose organization, and they have a good staff in place there to scout, draft, and develop. Whereas Buffalo has the smallest scouting department in the entire league. And I think it shows. We're 14 years in a row, no playoffs, most embarrassing professional sports franchise in all the top 4 sports. I really don't know what else to say. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Earls?
No.
Very. You got nothing.
No, they broke me again.
They broke you again.
Yeah, I mean, and that about sums it up. Like in a Hall of Fame resume of rock bottom moments, this team has once again surpassed that somehow illustrious history of rock bottom moments.
Yeah.
Ironically, on Bill's night, somebody please find out if Terry was there. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he wasn't.
No way.
Jesse won a tournament actually this past week down in Texas.
Yeah.
And shout out Jesse Pagula, hopefully future owner of the Buffalo Sabres. She stayed behind to wait with her private jet for the winners of the doubles tournament, who they're not as they're not as high profile players as she is, and they would have had to get on a connecting flight through Arizona to LAX and eventually make their way over to Palm Springs for the Indian Wells tournament this weekend. So Jessie, being the seemingly pretty good human that she is, not only an elite tennis player, one of the best tennis players in the world, she stayed behind with her private jet, and she waited for those doubles players who were on their way to Indian Wells as she was, and she took them to the tournament, and she saved them what it was reported as 18 hours of travel. So awesome. Not everybody in that family is I don't want to speak too meanly, but she seems to at least be doing some good, and I'm holding out hope that as she continues her career and hopefully wins a major coming up here relatively soon, that she will one day own this team. That is where I will leave you all.
Yeah, I'm gonna rip through a few of the post-game comments, and then we'll get out of here. Thompson says they got outworked, lost too many puck battles, lost one-on-one battles, and they got odd man rushes because of that. Says just because they were good 5-on-5 last night, it doesn't mean it's going to happen tonight. Also from Thompson says it doesn't matter what happened so far in the previous games. When you lace them up in the locker room, you better be ready to battle. Says they obviously didn't tonight. I mean, you literally play that on replay for almost every single loss
Yeah, like these quotes are all the same from every
same
loss.
fucking thing after every game.
And I get it. Like it is exhausting to have to speak to the media after every loss when you're frustrated and you're an athlete, you expect better of themselves.
Don't lose.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't lose to the worst team in the league.
Yeah, but like I don't, especially Tage. Like he's not the most.
Yeah.
Well, he's not the most eloquent, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear somebody else.
Tage also, when you play a game, you should want to compete and win. Says they need to have that mentality. That's embarrassing to have from when you're like. That's embarrassing to hear.
Oh yeah, they thought they could go in there and beat the worst team in the league.
Walk all over San Jose.
And a bunch of super skilled, unbelievable hockey players, albeit very young, made you look stupid.
Yeah, agreed. Byram says it's embarrassing for all of us. Says maybe they took them a little lightly. They shouldn't take any teams lightly, knowing where the Sharks are in the standings, but they didn't. But that wasn't all of why they played the way they did. Byram says it's unacceptable of what happened. Says consistency is something they are always fighting for. Says the teams that are consistent end up in the top of the standings. Also from Byram says you always want to play in a meaningful game. Says we put ourselves in this position, but you have to find a way to compete every night, no matter where you are in the standings. And the last comments here from Lindy Ruff. Too many passengers tonight. Our puck play was awful. Just too many guys took the night off. That is against the worst team in the National Hockey League.
I mean, I don't like to. This isn't Lindy's fault.
No, it's not.
If you don't bag skate these guys after a comment like that, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, we need the old Lindy back, honestly.
What are you doing? I know he has multiple times this season, but if you are at the helm of a team where you said they were passengers and they took the night off, like that's like Seth Apper, give me the whistle again. Turn the lights off. Like it'd be really funny if he did it after the game on Bills night on the ice.
It'd be hilarious.
I would love if he did that. That would be really funny.
Lindy says their puck play 3 times led to goals for the Sharks. Our puck play was pathetic. Lindy asks if players have checked out. Says no. Says they obviously didn't last night with their comeback effort. Yeah, I mean, last night and tonight are 2 different stories.
You know what hockey is, the sport of hockey? Puck play.
Puck play. You shoot a puck, you pass a puck, deflect pucks, block pucks.
Our puck play wasn't good enough tonight.
A lot of stuff with pucks in the game of hockey, to say the least. Guys, if you have enjoyed this content, please make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. You can find us at searching out 2 Goalies, 1 Mike. If you're watching on Twitter, you can find myself at Duane S39. You can find my co-host there, C-Hurls13, on the old Twitter machine. Yep.
Shout out D-Docs.
Shout out D-Docs.
LT1, Bill's night. One of our guys.
I just want to take a picture of that and send it to him. We'll get a kick out of that. And if you can find us at 2 Goalies, 1 Mike. Here, I'll get a quick pick. Quick pick. There we go. I'll send it to him. And if you find us at 2 Goalies, 1 Mike on Twitter, Facebook, on all social media platforms. But most importantly, if you are watching on YouTube, it's a platform we are desperately trying to monetize as best we can. So please make sure if you're not subscribed, you subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube right now and you haven't liked this video, please like it right now while we're asking you to. It helps us with the algorithm, and hit that little bell icon so you get notified when we go live. And as always, remember that this is brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from. Make sure you check them out at fattybeer.com or at fattybeer on Instagram and Twitter. I am Duane for Connor Hurley. We will talk to you again relatively soon. I know normally we record on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, but unless it's a game night, which, I think you'll be getting a short episode of 2 Goalies, 1 Mike on Thursday with Johnny Lazarus joining us to talk about the deadline. And, of course, all-day coverage of the NHL deadline on Friday of myself, and we'll see what Connor's schedule looks like out there on the West Coast. He's having a blast right now in his Dawkins goggles.
The coolest part about these, if anyone hasn't got them yet, they're for sale on his website. Really, really on and off.
That's sick.
Look at this. Oh, no.
Oh, God.
But no, they're actually super, super nice. Best, I mean, I've been skiing a long time, and these are the best pair of goggles that I've ever had. So
Agreed.
Do yourself a favor, go get them.
Go get them. We will talk to you then on Thursday and again on Friday. And as always, go Sabres.